Hey everybody, welcome back to The Best Thing Ever, a podcast about the stuff our friends like. Each week we pick a topic, we analyze it, we go deep into its history and philosophy, and then we rank it on the master list against all the other things we have talked about before. This is episode 14 of season 1. Today we're talking about Firefighters. That's right. The opposite of the fire starters. Right?
Well, actually, a lot of firefighters are arsonists. A lot of arsonists are firefighters. That's a true fact.
It's like
I don't have
rectangles, squares thing.
I think it's like fire just. You know how like if you stare in the fire for too long, it will tell you the secrets of the universe.
Sure,
like dark truths you don't want to know.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, and I think it's just. I didn't put it in my presentation, but yeah, like the LA arsonist was like a fire marshal.
Okay.
I think.
But here's the thing. It's definitely the opposite of water lovers. We can all agree with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they love water. They who drives around with a bigger water
well,
pump?
Fire and water, and then lovers and fighters. Like that has to be the opposite, right?
Yeah, I know. I hear where you're coming from. Like you're a lover or you're a firefighter, but I think actually they do like water a lot too.
Well, then I don't know what to think.
Why did none of the other elements have a department that fights against them? Like, why are there no Earth fighters?
Well,
Why
I mean,
is
I'm
there
pretty
not an
sure
air
that's
fighter?
that. I mean, first off, there are air fighters, and then secondly, I'm pretty sure that's what the Ranger Service is. So there kind of is.
Oh, Earth fighters, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we have such a great presentation for you about the history of firefighters, including shirtless pictures of them with puppies, fire good but also bad, and of course Dalmatians riding trucks. Let me introduce you to our panel. Today we are a hostful panel, just the four of us, and today we're going to play the game that I like to call, when I introduce everybody, 3 hosts and a lie. I'm Alex Falcone, I'm a comedian, and I'm going to be driving this bus today. And a fun fact about me is I'm allergic to peaches. Could be true, could be false. You'll find out at the end of the show.
Right? The peach emoji, you break your own hives when you see it.
It's just too much butt. I can't handle it.
It's too much butt, yeah.
Also joining us, our official marketing daddy, Ezra Fox. Ezra, a fun fact about you: you shot a gun in Vietnam.
Yeah, and then I got made fun of for it, actually.
I mean, there was a time where that was maybe more of a cool thing to do. Maybe not as good when you were there. Yeah,
they no, but it was like, this is like this gun. Like literally, the person who was owning the range was like, "This is a woman's gun."
Oh,
and so not only was the person like an arms dealer, also fairly sexist. So I don't know.
Was it like an old Wild Western gun with like very small that you put in a purse?
You can put in your nylons?
No, it was like a carbine thing. It was a rifle, but he did not. It was like, this should have been it. You should have shot an AK-47. This was a woman's
compliment. Maybe it was like only a woman can usually handle this gun.
Yeah.
I feel like this was not
what it was.
This was not a good interaction on the whole. I cannot unrecommend this enough.
Also
this whole
joining
situation.
us, our angry host, socialist historian Anthony Lopez. Fun fact about him: he appeared in an Iron Reagan music video.
I did. I do want to go back to what Ezra just said. I think next time I see like some douchebag walking down the street, because you see it a lot in Portland. Not a lot, but more than you would think. But like some guy just walking down the street carrying like an AR-15.
Yeah.
I'm just going to walk up to him and be like, why do you have a woman's gun? You should get a man's gun. Why are you carrying such a...
What a good person to antagonize.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe there's like a subtler way to do it. Like there's this thing that I've seen people do where you see somebody in a Tesla and you're like, oh, is that the new Prius? But you have to seem genuinely like you think it. So then they want to correct you, but they're also hurt. So you'd be like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I think that's that like woman's rifle I saw in a magazine. Like you have to be on their side when you insult them in order to make it work.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Also, rounding out our panel, we have another gun fact. Hunter Donaldson is our board game influencer. And a fun fact about Hunter is he has not shot a gun since he was 10.
Yeah. I had shot enough by then to kind of get the concept.
You'd completed gun.
I had finished.
By your 11th year.
Hunter, how old were you the first time a gun was put in your hands?
Like 5 or maybe 6.
And did the person neg you? Were they like, "That's a child's gun"?
No, it was a big manly gun, which I personally think that was a bit of a mistake. If he wanted me to like guns,
very small, so maybe it just looked like a big manly gun, but it was actually quite a small
I didn't mean
gun.
for this to be so gun heavy today, and I feel kind of weird about it, but at least it'll never happen
weird.
again because we're going to switch from guns to hoses. So today's topic is firefighters, and Anthony picked this on your list. Anthony, what is your core memory of firefighters? Do you have an initial, the first time they occurred to you, or the first time you remember like thinking about them? Do you have a history with them?
I didn't really think of anything for this. But I mean, I have to say, like, I remember when I was very young, we went to Universal Studios and I saw the Backdraft ride.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that was the first time, because I was too young to see the movie Backdraft.
I've never seen Backdraft, but I have been on the ride as well.
Yes, and I was aware at the time that, like, what firefighters did, and they were important, but it wasn't, because, like, if you remember the ride beforehand, they would show clips from the movies, and they would talk about what a backdraft was, and how you always had to check the door, and that was the first time I realized kind of, like, how dangerous and tactical and smart and thought goes into firefighting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's weird. I mean, what other subject do you learn about from an amusement ride, right? It's not like
I mean, that's
I
where
learned about space
Water
'cause I went on
Worlds.
Space Mountain, yeah.
Teacups. I learned about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I learned a lot
how
about
they work.
tea.
Yep.
I learned
Hunter,
it's a small world on It's a Small World.
so, Hunter, you have two relatives who are
Firefighting
firefighters. Your dad
family.
and brother are both firefighters. Did you talk
Yeah.
to them at all for this episode to prepare?
I talk to them every day about firefighting stuff. They never shut up about it. And let me tell you a little something about my dad. I almost asked him to come on the show to do this because of how ready he is all the time. But of course, we shouldn't have him on the show. Also, wouldn't even know how to do it. Like, to be honest, I would have to fly to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, in order to get my dad on the show. But the thing that you might not know about firefighting is one of the reasons that you should be a firefighter is they have a really good retirement program, and sometimes the retirement program is so good that it ruins the state that it is in.
Yes.
Okay,
father,
but here's the thing: no state, if they didn't keep it from burning down for like many decades.
I mean, that's kind of
right?
mafia
So,
logic, but yeah, that's true.
well, they'd probably start that fire, like the great Billy Joel said.
Yeah, we'll just let it burn if you don't give us really good retirement plans.
retirement. Yeah. And so my dad, since for as long as I can remember, from the time that I was a little child until today, has spent his whole life explaining to me how his retirement plan works. And that's all he's ever told me, really. That's all we've ever talked about. And my thing was when he retired maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And when he retired, my primary thought was, wow, Dad is not going to explain to me how his retirement program works. Boy, was I wrong. Because once you're in the retirement program, it's all he wants to do is break it down. He's like, it's called a drop plan, Hunter. There is the longer I stay in, it all goes into a separate account, and it's he always says it like this. He says it's the growingest account I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He says growingest, which is not a word, father. But my dad is an interesting person. He's like a robot. If you feed him a piece of information, he gives you a response the same way every time. So for me, the way it works is if I say hello, he says, here's how my retirement plan works. It's like how he works.
So wait, you just found the wrong. You have to have different inputs if you want to get off of the retirement.
Right,
link.
so your job is to think
there are
of the
other
weirdest
inputs,
thing to say to your dad to see what he will respond with.
That's a lot like saying a Furby is giving you're putting in the wrong inputs, right? It's like they only have so many inputs programmed into it.
Sure.
It's the kind of thing what Hunter is getting
a
at,
secret
right?
menu, a secret Hunter Dad menu where it's like, Dad, hello, animal style, and then he's like, maybe it would be something else.
And then he gives you he tells you about his retirement plan with onions.
Yeah. Retirement plan. But this time saucy. He's like sassy about it.
I want it smothered and covered. Hunter, your brother became a firefighter, but you did not.
No.
Is it because you don't care about retiring?
Is it because you chose fire over family?
It does kind of feel like I was surrounded by people being like, retirement is very important. And I'm over here just being like, I'm not sure what will happen when I reach a certain age.
Yeah.
I'm
worried about feeding me now.
Yeah.
I'm not really I'm not a long-term thinker about this.
What kind of king do you think I am that I'm setting aside some sort of royal treasure?
Like, I recently had cookie dough for breakfast. You really think I'm thinking about 70-year-old me?
Oh, no,
That's
I mean, I do think, though, that what they say about Twitch is that the streamers, that is actually the new growingest account, right? So, like, those followers, that's how it works. And so they'll be there for you for years to come.
Yeah. Actually, I think that one of the problems is that the Twitch retirement plan is so good, it's slowly destroying the state.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about Twitch is that, people just love making content. You'll never stop. You get to do it forever.
Yeah,
it's content all the way down to the day
old
you
people
die.
Twitch is
old people Twitch.
Old people Twitch. I'm interested in this.
I am interested in well, there are a lot of really good old people TikTok accounts that I enjoy. But let's get into it then. We've got some dive to deep into. So Anthony, I'm going to give you the power of the visual aids. By the way, if you're not watching on youtube.com/AlexFalcone, you're missing out. Anthony's going to give us a history with slides, with a slide deck. Anthony, please tell us the history of firefighting.
I have a presentation here for you today. It's in 2 parts. Part 1 is called AFAB.
AFAB
all
for
firefighters,
life.
All firefighters are badass. So I want to start with the idea of civil servants. All right. So civil servants, there's a lot of them, and civil servants are not usually popular. Right? Let's sort of think about it. Right? You have cops. Some people really like them, but ACAB for real.
Yeah.
Judges, they like beer. Most people don't like them very much. And I think all the civil servants, right? IRS agents never get movies made about them.
Right.
Meter maids are not being celebrated and put up on sexy calendars.
That's so true.
But so the whole idea of civil servants is to kind of be in a place where most people actually don't like you, and you're kind of how necessary you are or not is sort of up for debate, except for one class of civil servant.
Right.
Firefighters. Everybody likes firefighters. All right? And I was sort of doing research this week thinking about this, and I have a few sort of theories of why I think firefighters are so beloved. I mean, number one, because they're hot in more ways than one.
Yeah.
I mean, hubba. There's some hot firefighters I have found this week. And the fact that they usually, like this guy down here, have a big hose. It's just so phallic.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just the most...
So, phallic guy is good, but of these 3 hot firefighter pictures, I like the one where there is smoke coming off his nipple.
Oh, yeah?
Why is that guy... Why is his nip on fire? Put that out, man.
Hot.
This is your job.
He's hot in more ways than one.
He really is.
Control it,
Well, I feel like we're just scooting past. There is a firefighter photo where they're topless, but also holding puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just that they are like it's as if an AI made the most likable thing you could, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, look, we're taking away the bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
But also we are imbuing ourselves with their hotness, and as well we get dogs. And we get poles as well, and just a lot of great.
We put out fires
iconography.
and we get cats down from trees. They are.
What else do you want?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Literally, all I've ever wanted in life is to hold a puppy and have these pelvic lines that
pelvic.
all 3 of the
things.
Is that like an Adonis belt?
they're the cum gutters, as Sean Jordan calls them.
that.
I don't like that. Yeah, it's too crass.
Yeah, that's gross.
Just
Gross.
God, I want.
So
them.
I want to transition from that. Hunter, which of these 5 men here is your dad?
They can all be my dad for a price.
But kind of building off that, my other main point is that they are kind and they treat animals well.
They really do.
That's another part of the sort of firefighter mythology. So they're very good to animals. They're very kind. They actually help, which is kind of a crazy thing about most civil servants. When they show up, you can argue whether or not they leave a place better or not than they found it. But firefighters, almost 100% of the time, leave a place in a better situation than they found it. Right? That's a pretty cool
and
thing.
wetter.
Yeah, usually.
Better
yeah.
and wetter.
In more ways than one.
It's also wild, though, that they've just taken on extra stuff that you need to get done, right? Where it's like, yeah, we fight fires, but there's a bunch of things that are not fires that just got to happen. We'll do it.
Pancake breakfasts.
Yes, I love that about them very much. Those pancakes are not going to pancake themselves.
I mean, I will just a quick, very short defense of other civil servants. There are a lot of civil servants that do make situations better, and you don't hate them. You just don't think about them. So, like, the people who calculate the tidal movement in the oceans so that the Coast Guard can find someone who falls off a boat, that job, you don't hear about them very often, but they are actively helping, and they're leaving a situation better than they found it.
Wouldn't it be better if, say, like they baked people muffins for fundraisers, they were like, 20% hotter as part of their job, and also like they saved a dolphin like every third day.
Yeah, so this is one of the advantages that firefighters have is they have adorable little houses just like set up around the city so you can come visit them. They have like a good Halloween presence. Like their structure helps a lot. If there were like tidal flow nerds who each got a little hut where they could have a fundraiser and a calendar, I think that would be fun.
Well, I mean, something you said there actually leads into my next point, that when you think about it, firefighters are kind of like Adam West's Batman.
Okay, so the best of that genre.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. They have really cool, unique clothes you never see anywhere else.
Yep.
They have costumes and very cool gadgets that only they have.
Utility belts, yeah.
They have cool secret, not necessarily secret, but they have cool bases
some
that
of
are
their
very
hiding in plain
unique.
sight, we might say.
Yeah, and are very themed to them. The same way everything in the Batcave is like bat themed.
Yeah.
Everything in a firehouse is fire themed.
Yep.
And I mean, like, come on. They both use fire pits to get to where they're going.
Wow, that's so true. I forgot about that.
A great photo of I guess they have a double pole situation with this Adam West Batman and whoever his.
I love
when I like
that
Robin's pole is smaller.
Is it Robin's
and I like
pole
that.
is smaller?
It's proportionate.
I love that.
Yeah.
The sidekick
It's really cool.
pole.
Also, look at this firefighter. He's really tearing it up. On that.
He's having a good time on that
He's
pole.
really tearing it up on that pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the guy behind him who's like jealous and excited that his friend is having so much fun on this pole.
He's looking at him. He's like, that guy's tearing it up right now.
The tricky thing about firefighter photos, though, is it's hard to know when they were taken because the mustaches remain the same regardless.
Oh, that's such. It's timeless. Yeah, all firefighters, just like Adam West Batman performance, are timeless.
Timeless, yeah. I mean, so they're kind of like Batman, and like Batman, like Adam West's Batmans, they're warriors, they're fighters.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I think to really understand any kind of fighter's mentality, we need to go back to the OG. Let's talk about Sun Tzu and the Art of War. So,
when your
Sun
fire is
Tzu-
weakest, that's when you attack.
Yeah.
Never let the fire know what you're thinking.
Get in your fire's head.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point, right? So Sun Tzu famously said, to know your enemy, you must become your enemy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
that's why
let's-
firemen are officially made of fire. Like all of us are 60% water, except for firefighters, 60% fire.
That's why
All
they had to get
fire.
so hot. This is
Yeah,
why
that's
knowing their
exactly
enemy.
right. Yeah, from the inside out.
Okay.
Yeah, they burn from the inside. Yeah. So we need to understand fire. All right. So let's try to talk about fire. So why is fire good? Right.
Oh yeah.
So obviously it has a lot of advantages. It keeps you warm.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
good for cooking.
Yep.
It's good for protection from the elements and
It destroys
natures.
everything.
Yes. Yeah, it covers your mistakes.
It provides light.
Yeah, it hides
covers-
the evidence.
It gets rid of
Yeah.
documents. Yeah.
Well, that kind of gets into what's bad about fire. Right? So
Oh,
what's bad
I'm
about
sorry.
fire is that outside is very flammable.
Yeah.
All of your stuff is very flammable.
Yeah.
And your outfit and you are very flammable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so
We're all-
true.
Yeah.
So-
It's a
My
flammable
world's on
world.
fire.
Yeah.
How about
So
yours?
it's
How about you?
so fire is a land of contrast. That's my point. Right? It's kind of impossible to say whether it's good
Kind of a
or
gradient
bad.
of
Yeah.
fire.
Sweet spot.
So now that I think we understand fire, let's sort of
That
talk
was it.
about
Now
the
that's we
history.
understand
That's
it.
it. Now we understand fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
One of
there's not-
one of the elements.
Yeah, there's not much more to say. It's
There's good and
it's
bad. Yeah, we covered it.
And man's relationship with it has been very, very interesting, and that's what we're kind of going to get to next. So part 2 is called "We Didn't Start the Fire; It Was Always Burning Since the World's Been Turning."
Oh yeah, it's about the sun.
Yeah. So for a very long time, fire had no challenges. Right? There was no one to fight fire for a very, very long time. Fire just ran undefeated.
They didn't even know how to fight fire. So the great irony was, it was like the answer was there in front of them. They just couldn't figure it out.
Right, with fire. Yeah.
And what's funny is that like a lot of times in the history of firefighting, the knowledge gets lost for a very long time, and we get even worse at it, and then we slowly get better. Then we lose that knowledge again.
That's the true secret. It's
almost
fire hits water.
It's like you think about prehistory or like olden times, and it almost sounds like, to me, it sounds like Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Like it just sounds like people are out there and they're like, we don't know how the world works, and we have to solve all these puzzles, and they'll be like, uh-oh, my house is on fire. It's a puzzle. How do I solve it? And they didn't like have the knowledge that we have, you know.
But it's like Tears of the Kingdom if you'd never played a video game before.
Yeah,
because
like Tears of the Kingdom.
Because you're saying they don't know how to solve fire, like. Yeah. The way you put out fire is with water is like one of the easiest puzzles to solve.
I don't know. Is it that easy? If you didn't know that, it's hard to figure out.
You look outside and you're like, is the lake on fire? No, never. Well, I mean, it's right there.
Come on, Alex. It's prehistoric times. My house is on fire, and your proposal is we just throw anything on it? We're just like, well, let's throw all things on it.
Like dirt puts out fire really quick. You just kick some dirt on it. A large hot lid over your house. Starves of oxygen.
You can't put out fire with dirt. All right, if your house is on fire, you can't just throw dirt at it.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, that's your problem, right? That's what your kind of thing is. The thing about fire is that fire is kind of like playing rock paper scissors with a possibly indignant child, right? It's like okay. Technically, my rock beats your scissors, but if that kid's like, no, my scissors are super strong. The rock doesn't hurt them. That's what fire is like.
Fire is always changing the rules after the fact, you're saying.
Water pits out fire, but sometimes fire gets so hot, it literally just evaporates the water. It's like, fuck you. What are you going to do?
That is
super
true.
Fire, we call it in the biz.
Yeah, so fire, it's been, as long as people have had fires run amok. This is kind of cool. They found a early hand pump for water in remains of ancient Egypt that they had made back in like the 3rd century BC or something like that. This
kind of looks like
a
scales of justice kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like there's like it goes up and down, and there's like some water goes and like goes up the middle. Looks like a very satisfying maybe seesaw with a surprise.
It kind of looks like something someone would build in The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. A game really out now on Nintendo Switch.
I understand, Hunter, that the last few days for you have been pretty focused.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's... I mean, frankly, I'm incredibly impressed, Anthony, that you had the time to write this instead of constantly building multi-stage rockets to do war crimes to Kurux.
Oh, yeah, if my wife did not also want to play a lot of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I would not have had time to do this. I would have just... I mean, it's why I put Zelda imagery in this slide, because all I'm thinking about is Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I can't wait.
And actually, hey, can this podcast be over? Like, come on, let's move.
Yeah,
let's keep it moving, guys. Yeah,
can we keep it moving? Seriously.
We have some terrible crimes to do to these innocent, poor little Kuroks.
Well, you can attach them to anything. It's so cool.
It's so weird.
And they had it coming.
Oh, that's true.
They stole Hetsunu's maraca seeds. That's very rude.
This
water pump is a good example of a piece of technology that wasn't reinvented for 1,500 years after it was lost. So that kind of shows like what happens when technology is lost. It's a very interesting idea to me. But, for most of human history, if your shit caught fire, you did your best. But, like, lol, what are you going to do, right? The fire's going to win.
We have some beautiful paintings of just some, I guess, looks like some Greek structures burning, Roman.
Antiquity,
Yeah, and it's also just impressive that they could paint that fast while everything was burning and get away with it.
You didn't tell me the fire, like, could you turn a little to the left? I want the shadows wrong. Probably one of these is the burning of the Library of Alexandria, which was literally us learning. It was like we wrote down all our plans for pumps and put them in the library. Fire took it. Now we have 1,500 years to make pumps again.
Why'd we put everything we know in one house? Why'd we do that?
We need redundant backups. 2 copies of every book in different houses.
All the stone tablet truthers were like saying like, see, if this is all just been on stone tablets,
this is actually, if we lived in Alexandria, one of my uncles would be like, this is why I still use tablets for everything.
Yes, exactly.
I knew this would happen if we switched over to papyrus. No one listened to me.
That person definitely started that uncle definitely started the fire. Just I want you to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but so back in the day, things used to catch fire a lot. They still do, but it used to happen a lot back then too. Back in ancient Rome, in the time of antiquity, there would be about 100 major fires a day. And most of the time, really all you could do was hope some people were around who wanted to help you put out a fire. Because if there wasn't, well, go fuck yourself.
The fire wins, yeah.
Yeah. So, very early, under the Augustus dynasty, this is the first time people sort of thought, like, I bet I could kick a fire's ass, right? So this is the first time organized firefighting and getting people together was kind of thought and done. The first person to really do it is this guy named Marcus Licinius Crassus, who ran Rome's first fire brigade of 500 freed men, former slaves who would become free. But his thing was they would roam the streets at night looking for fire, carrying a bunch of buckets and like ropes with hooks on them to pull down buildings to create fire breaks. Kind of cool, pretty advanced stuff for the time. But the thing is, he didn't like just go and put out fires. What he would do is he would see a fire and he would come up to it, find the property owner and be like, nice place you got there. How much do you want for it? And he would try to get you to sell him your house to put out the fire or pay him off to put out the fire. If you didn't, he would just be like, whatever, and let it burn.
I guess we're going to keep our hooks to ourselves.
Yeah, it's a real hashtag hustle mindset, hashtag bless type of thing.
On that grind set.
Yeah.
Wow, on that grind.
He was an OG rise and grind guy. But this is the first guy to create sort of like an organized fire brigade. You have Nero, famous Roman Empire. He creates the Virgils, which are basically a fire brigade / cop organization. So they weren't great. They would do a lot of just executing people right in the streets for crimes. Basically the same stuff cops still do.
It really complicates your firemen are better than cops situation. Is sometimes they are
when they're
cops.
together, right? Just that's the issue. You guess split them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what you need. You need to separate them. Nero
like
also.
said.
It is funny that the guy who kind of like really started the first sort of open fire brigade also famously burnt down almost all of Rome. It's quite ironic.
wow.
Look, you want to start some fire brigades, you're going to burn down some Romes. That's what they
Well,
say.
yeah. I also think it's kind of like that firefighters and arsonists thing. Like, of course, if you're an arsonist, you pretend to want to start a fire brigade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, also, you want to put that fire out before it burns everything, so there's something left for your next arson.
That's true.
It's like you can shear a sheep many times, but skin it only once. You don't want to burn the whole of Rome.
Yeah. Well, also, clearly, he was just trying to buy all of Rome, but I think it was probably difficult to negotiate.
They did not have the spare change in their pockets for all of
I will
Rome
put this out, but I own everything.
But I believe he literally, under his watch, 2/3 of Rome burnt down. So, like I said, a lot of this
What was his
time-
retirement like?
Yeah. Do you have a drop plan?
No, I think he got like a sword in the head or something like that.
in the head. I wonder if that's good.
I don't know how Nero actually died.
Well, but the thing is, you get a sword in the head when you retire, but then in 10 years, it's like 2.5 swords in a head because it's
It's the
compounded.
growingest
It's a
count I've ever
growingest
seen.
sword.
Wait. Throwback. Did anyone else use Nero, the CD burner app, when they were a youngin, like in like the late 90s?
Wait,
that was my favorite burning app. Was
I
Nero.
definitely did. Are you suggesting that is related to Rome burning? They were like Nero burning
CD
CDs.
burning.
Absolutely.
Rome burning.
Because, yes, he was that's what he said. While Rome burned, Nero also burned CDs
Nero
of offspring
had
specifically.
made some CDs out of music he found on
There's a
Kazaa.
lot of this-
Nero made mixtapes while Rome burned. But, so for all of this, firefighting was very simple. It was bucket lines and, like I said, hooks on ropes. That was basically all you had. And then after the fall of Rome, we get into the Dark Ages, and fire just runs up the scoreboard for like 1,600 years. The fall of Rome into the Dark Ages is another great example of like so much knowledge was lost, and people got so stupid. People completely forgot how to do anything. people regressed. People thought you could just pray fire away. Well, fire was caused by witches and the devil, and that was it.
People sent thoughts and prayers whenever there was a fire.
I was going to say that every time. There's no way to prevent this.
Yeah, we can't do anything about it, but thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers, though.
Yeah.
National Fire Association was really big. Oh yeah. All right, this is everyone's right.
Well, yeah, the fire had its own lobbying arm. It was very effective.
Yeah,
Fire
they would
people.
They made you take out books about fire protection out of schools so that no one could read them. The Great London Fire of 1666 devastated most of London. Almost all had to be rebuilt from that. But this was the one that they were like, okay, burn us down 5 times. We're not going to get burnt down again. This is the time they put their foot down and they said, we're going to do something about this. All right?
In 1669, the city burned down again.
Yeah. Well, what happened was they founded a bunch of insurance companies, founded a bunch of fire brigades to protect their clients, right? So this was kind of the first sort of organized, sort of company-ran, private company fire departments, right? The way it worked was if you were insured, you got a little plaque outside your door, and then, it's a very simple plan. You can understand it's very elegant. The way it works was if your house is on fire and you had insurance and your insurance company's fire brigade got there and not another insurance company's fire brigade, then you were good. That's all. If not, well, your house is going to burn down. What are you going to do?
Man.
So
it does seem like firefighters in the day, like now they're like nice to puppies. Back then they were like, I don't know, maybe kind of mean.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna get meaner before it gets better.
They sound mean.
But yeah, most of the time at this point, we're still doing bucket lines, right? We don't really have any kind of other technology yet, but very quickly that started to change, kind of inspired by this fire. People started to take fire more seriously. Sort of smaller inventions that had been invented a few years earlier become very big. So, we have this guy named Hans Hotch. He's a German inventor. In 1650, he invents the first fire engine, which is basically like a big pump, right, that can shoot water out. These would be
this is like dumb, but I think it is worth mentioning in case you hadn't thought about it. I used to see a fire truck and assume it was full of water. There's no water on that truck. That truck's just a really big pump, and then they plug into the fire.
There's a little bit of water on there, just
water.
like for fun.
Probably. And also, if they're like millennials, they got a really big water bottle. Like there's some water on there.
Yeah, there's always some water.
But it's mostly just a big pump, and they plug into the fire, the thing on the
hydrant.
The hydrant thing, and it goes. It's a pump, not a.
But he invents the first sort of fire engine. Before this, there was some kind of like rudimentary pumps, but he created the first sort of suction one. And this was basically people would run over with buckets, pour the water in this machine, and then it would shoot out. So you had to constantly.
We still had a lot of buckets.
Refreshing, buckets, right? In
Man,
1672,
be a bucket salesperson in those days, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
You're always looking for an angle, as I like that about you. What's a good business I can get to if I get teleported back to 1650? It's going to be the bucket industry.
Ezra, you have no idea. I'm about to blow your mind with buckets. Okay.
Buckle up, everybody.
Bucket up.
In 1672, Jan van der Heyden, who was a Dutch inventor, invents the fire hose.
Hell yeah.
The hose with brass
the hose.
Still, even though like some of the material has changed, his technique, his standard length, all of that stuff is still standardized in a lot of the world. It's still done exactly the same.
And he only got around to inventing that after he'd finished with Bros.
Oh, but here's the other thing. He actually moved in 1673 for another invention, so they had in different area codes as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a traveling salesman, so he had hose in different area codes. Good job, Jan.
I will sit out of that one.
You're not going to participate?
I'm just gonna pass on the Bros and hose.
A third would really cap off this riff if you had participated.
I am electing to not do it.
Brutal. The
gotta check out Tears of the Kingdom, everybody. There's some hoses in that. You can do water hoses, fire hoses. A lot of people have been making these big penis men. You got to check it out.
Yeah, I've seen
There's
that.
some cool fire hydrants I just found. But so while all this is happening, I want to talk about what's happening in America with fire. Basically, America was burning down a lot. We were the colonies at this point.
Buckets.
It's very funny how many early American cities burnt down. I think it was like Virginia was only founded because the original city kept burning down, and they just said "fuck it" and just moved the capital to a different city.
I hate to word check you again, Anthony, but did you start this by saying it's funny how often these burn down?
Yeah,
it is funny.
Okay, I mean, from a distance, I can.
Yeah,
it's not as funny to me, I guess. Maybe I don't see. What's the point of view of that joke?
They're gone now. They're gone now, Alex. Those people are not alive anymore, and we could laugh about it. I think we've gotten there.
You laughed at what did?
They were
what was
colonists.
happening?
They were literally colonizers.
That's true.
Like screw
That is
them.
true.
Yeah, so what was happening in America at this time was that fires were so common that they passed a law that you had to have a water bucket in your house. And depending on your business or what you did there, you had to have different amounts of water buckets, right? So
Hell yeah, Ezra
constantly
buckets.
had to have 3 buckets. If it was a private resident, you had to have a bucket filled with water right outside your door.
Just
and the
water
idea,
just sitting there all day.
Yeah,
and it's in olden times too, so everything's grosser.
Well,
Yeah.
but one bucket full of water. Can you imagine if your house catches on fire and you're like, "Well, I've got the one bucket. Surely I'll be fine." Like, how long does a bucket of water last?
You got to hit it.
No.
You got to hit it hard. You got to hit it fast.
That's
Yeah.
the
On it.
So the idea was everyone has a bucket. So as soon as the fire rings, everyone puts their bucket out. And everyone's bucket would have your name on it, so that at the end your bucket
like a
could be
lunchbox.
returned to you.
like cups at a party.
So what this leads to is this is really fascinating. There's this huge boom of ornate buckets that happen in the colonies around this time. All right, so people start to take this very seriously. They design their buckets. They get their fancy names put on them. They get cool designs.
Fly, guys. I don't know how to say it.
So Ezra, you started in the bucket market, but I came in with a higher end bucket option. And you thought you could beat me on price, but I actually went for the bigger profit margin bucket.
This is a snob good, yeah.
Yeah. I was more of like a luxury good bucket maker, so I did better.
Vanity
Davenport,
buckets.
But
1811. Looks like a
They're
great
nice.
bucket. Davenport
these
really good buckets, y'all.
ornate buckets are so fascinating. There's so many of them, so many different designs. But yeah, the idea was if you heard the fire bell and if you didn't want to go and put out the fire, you would just toss your bucket out in the street and be like, somebody will get that and they can use it. And that's what would happen. That's like if there was a fire bell, you put your bucket outside, you pray for the best, and then hopefully someone returns your bucket.
This is like kind of adorable. This is not a bad system. I mean, it's a bad system compared to now.
It's
but
really
like,
bad.
Yeah.
It's better than it used to be.
Tossing the bucket out is basically just like the okay, I will do something on your your Indiegogo to support you, but I'm not actually going to do much effort. So this is my $5 I'm kicking in. It's like, good luck with that fire over there. I hope that helped.
It's crazy that people could do that back in the day, because you think back in the day people weren't very busy with stuff. Like you know how it's
they didn't
really
have a
cool.
Zoom meeting. You could get out there with your bucket. You got time.
In the modern world, it's really easy to pretend that you're busy. I don't
think
know how you could do it in the
back
past.
then. Like cooking takes a lot of the day.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, in order for us to eat at all tonight, I have to cook all day.
Yeah, most of the
And
day.
also,
And
like if you want to stay warm, you got to cut a lot of wood.
if you want to visit your in-laws, you have to walk.
Oh.
If you're like, I got to go see my family in Cincinnati. We should walk.
But yeah, I mean, buckets have
Try getting
always
planes
been
past sucks.
Yeah.
Very famously, in 1736, Benjamin Franklin formed the first volunteer firefighting force in America called Union Fire Company. He also organized the first fire insurance company in the United States. Early American
Busy
firefighting
dude,
is
Ben.
really...
Ben is the one guy who I'd be like, just put your bucket outside. You got a lot to do.
Yeah.
You've got a country to
and-
found and syphilis to get. You keep moving.
Yeah,
Well,
he's got a fuck and he's got a found.
He got a lot of bunch of...
That's the thing about Ben. He's gonna fuck. He's gonna found. That's what happens. He's gonna
You can
found a
buy that
country, he's
shirt
gonna
right
found a
now
fire
at our merch
department.
store.
Did you guys read that news story a few years ago when they found all those dead bodies in Benjamin Franklin's basement?
Oh my God, no.
No.
Oh no,
Yeah,
don't ruin Benjamin Franklin.
No,
Is he
there was like the headline was like possibly a serial killer, but it was probably like cadavers he had for experiments and science and stuff.
They were
But yeah,
like that when he got there.
Yeah, they found a bunch of corpses in a
repairs on
basement.
Franklin's old London house turned up 1,200 pieces of bone from at least 15 different people.
Yeah, so maybe he was a serial killer. Who knows?
No, he was testing electricity or something, and it got him.
He was not killing people with it. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. He's good.
Yeah.
He's chill. We can keep him.
Yeah, he's on the $100 bill. He fucked a lot of French MILFs. He had a good time.
Yeah.
But
Did they have MILFs back then? Did they have that?
No, that MILFs weren't invented until 1912, actually.
I think you're saying that like the desire wasn't there? I mean, want is the only real identifier there.
No one knew what to do with they're like it's just their mills, right? They're like moms. I don't know what is supposed to happen here.
Maybe when we from them.
Maybe when we do the best thing ever podcast on MILFs.
Yeah, we can do the history of that. We can figure out when the
MILFs.
Yeah, I would say a story begins with the movie American Pie. But so fire brigades in America were fucking crazy around this time. So this was our system in America. And in America, rather than the fire brigades being ran by the insurance companies, they were private companies that would get paid out by the insurance companies. But the thing was, there would be multiple competing fire brigades in each city.
So competition.
Yeah, so they would
the market
get there,
decides.
and they
the
would
market
just
always does well.
They would just beat the shit out of each other until one of them left, or they would have people run around and pit like buckets over the fire hydrants to hide them, so that the local fire brigade
sounds like freedom to me.
Wait,
let freedom ring. I say.
Hold on a second. I just want to say, so what Anthony just said was that in order to stop the other fire brigades, they would put a bucket over the fire hydrant.
Yes.
You're still making money, no matter what the business, no matter what's going on,
bucket
you're
wins.
getting your piece.
Bucket wins.
I like the idea that these were not only firefighters, they were firefighter fighters as well.
Yes.
Whoa.
That's so true. That's so true.
I mean, like, literally, they would hire people, like, the way, like, in hockey, you have, like, your goon enforcers.
Yeah.
People who aren't
Big
necessarily
guy.
great hockey players, but they're really good at fucking other people up. You would have
You'd have a hose
firefighters
guy, you'd have a bucket guy, and you'd have an
fight guy.
ex-boxer.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what firefighting was like for a very long time. This I thought was really interesting. I do want to. America kind of has one possibly great contribution to firefighting around this time, and that's Bosby Hawley Jr., who is, we believe, the possible creator of the fire hydrant. People are pretty sure he invented the fire hydrant, but when we can't be positive because the patent office burnt down in 1836 and it destroyed all information about who actually invented the fire hydrant.
Birdsell and the fire are working together.
This is a presentation about firefighters, but I think so far fire is winning.
Yeah.
This is really about like a
question.
losing. This is the
We
Rocky
suck compared to
fighter.
fire.
Oh, yeah. Again, that's what I'm saying. Fire ran up the score for so long.
For a long time.
We didn't really start to turn around. We played the long game as humans, but yeah, for a long time, fire just won.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, they had us in the first half kind of situation.
Yeah. By 1832, fire engines were starting to get really big. They were getting really heavy, and for a very long time, no one conceived of like horses, right? People would just literally carry these around or push them around with other men for hundreds of years. That's what we did. Literally hundreds of years. You would have like 6 guys who would just push these throughout a city, and when a fire came, they would push them as fast as they could.
But we had horses already, and they were
we had
already like
horses.
carrying stuff around. And
So there were people
like how
in
we
the
do with
street
them.
getting passed by horse carriages, pushing it themselves, and being like, "Man, I wish there was a better way."
Yes, exactly.
God, it's
but
funny how
it-
stupid we are.
I don't know. I might
we
be on
go-
Fire's
real
team
bad
now.
at this.
I think maybe
Yeah.
we didn't deserve to not burn down.
Suck.
And then in 1832, the New York Mutual Hook and Ladder Company has an idea.
Love
Horses.
that name.
Yeah, let's use horses, the drag of fire.
Hooks and ladders is a more brutal game for children.
Yes.
Instead of slides, you get a hook on a rope. Ugh.
Yeah.
But
Sounds spooky.
we get horses, right? So this is where horses and fire engines become sort of like an iconic pair. The imagery is very strong. People kind of think of it. Some fire stations still use horses in like symbolic ways, but the horse becomes a major part of sort of like helping put out fires, right? And enabling fire companies to be even more efficient and faster. And the really important thing about horses, this is something I didn't know, but the horses lead to Dalmatians. The reason why Dalmatians and firefighting are a thing is because of the horses. So Dalmatians were used in firehouses to ready the horses, get them going, like get them in line, get them excited.
Were they horse hype men?
Yeah, they were like horse herding animals, essentially.
I think of herding as quite hype men. I think it's a little different. But...
No, it's hyping. It's hyping and herding is basically the same thing. Get Flava Flav and Public Enemy, he's herding as well.
Yeah, he was like, get in the
That's why he has
get
that
in the
big
pen,
clock.
Public Enemy, get in there.
But yeah, so the way it would work was they would the Dalmatians were obviously good to keep the firefighters company. But when the fire bell would ring, a fire alarm would go out, the Dalmatians would go alert the horses, get them in place, and then what would happen is the Dalmatians were trained to run out into the street, bark at any other horses or anyone in the way to get out of the way, and then the Dalmatians would run with the fire engine.
Wow.
All
They're
the
doing
way
like
to
most
the fire.
of the work at this point.
They were literally what a siren is now, was what the Dalmatian was. They would run with the horses and the fire engines and alert people.
Just think if we could have given him a bucket 1,000 years earlier, how many lives we could have saved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a Dalmatian with a bucket.
For life.
But yeah, the amount of imagery and like sort of that Dalmatians obviously become very iconic. The firehouse, like 3 blocks from my house, has a Dalmatian. Every time I walk by, I see it hanging out there.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, they're still commonly used mostly to keep people company. They don't really do the work anymore. They've kind of gotten lazy and
just a really good retirement program for them.
Yeah, exactly. Dalmatians are cruising on that fire station retirement plan. And at this point, we kind of get to, the first municipal fire brigade was founded in 1832 in Edinburgh, Scotland. April 1st, 1853, Cincinnati becomes the first fire department with a full-time paid career firefighters. By the end of the Civil War, most firefighting is done municipally, not done by private companies anymore. And that's how we kind of get to firefighting as we know it today. But I want to just tell you guys a few more facts about firefighters I learned. There are roughly 1,115,000 firefighters in the United States. Only 30% of all firefighters in the United States are career firefighters. The other 70% of firefighters are volunteer firefighters.
So this is maybe a stupid question, but is a volunteer firefighter just somebody who's like, hey, put my name in the hat, call me if there's a fire? Or are they like, do they volunteer but then they work in a firehouse like a full-time fireman? How does volunteer firefighters work? And how do you get away with just being like, we don't pay these people, they just kind of like they're in it for the love of the game?
Yeah, I think they are in it for the love of the game, and I think it's kind of done. I think it's just like cowboy style. Like I think they just they just ride out. They just ride. There's a fire. They just
the
ride.
Dalmatian runs through the streets. You jump in you each got your own fire truck and you just drive
Put
there.
your bucket out.
Get your bucket.
Yep. Get your bucket. Grab your truck. Good. Yeah. Come on down and have some luck.
And
I like that
kind of come full circle with the fire kicked their asses for so long. I thought this was really interesting. Only 4% of all calls firefighters respond to are for fires.
Right. The other 96% are cats in trees.
Cats and trees, yeah.
Always cats and trees, and that's pretty much all we pay them to do.
Excellent work. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Yeah.
That's the history of firefighting. All right, let's do an ad, and then we'll be back to talk about what firefighting means to us emotionally. This week's episode is brought to you once again by the Best Thing Ever podcast listener feedback survey, which you can take by going to bit.ly/BTE feedback, bit.ly/BTE feedback. Ezra, you've been looking at the surveys you've gotten back so far. How is it going?
It's real good. I mean, at least everyone who likes us enough to actually do this is very positive, which is awesome. Got a lot.
Yeah, we did. It's a little self-selecting that we're only polling people who like the show enough to get to the ad and then do the thing you ask.
Hold on. There are people who, if you piss them off, would be like, you know what? I hate these people, and they need to know. And we haven't found those folks yet. So,
but they had to listen.
Wait, can we have one of that? Hey, there's somebody listening that will do that. Could you do that?
Somebody's hate listening at this point.
You don't need to. It's good.
No, it's good, but it's good if you have haters.
I will say somebody who gave us feedback last week said that their least favorite episode was the one about the sun that this ad was in, that was only out for like an hour or two when this feedback came in. So somebody came in, like listened, would not have filled out the survey, but hated talking about the sun so much they had to jump in. So there are some negative feedbacks.
That person's name was Entropy.
We're positive in entropy on the show. I think it was the moon. The moon wrote in to be like, I was overlooked.
Well, everybody's always talking about the sun. Nobody talks about me,
So just a reminder, this is not we're not trying to do advertising demographics. This is not like, what is your household income or whatever. This is just, we're trying to make the show a little bit better. Ezra's using some techniques he learned in the world of improving products to use to improve the product of the show. So just trying to figure out what people like and what they don't like and how this could be better for them. And so if you could just take a few minutes, fill out the survey, and anybody who fills out the survey is going to be entered into a drawing to get either your choice of a topic. You get to pick a topic for an episode, and Anthony will write a research paper about it. Or you can pick a piece of best thing ever swag, so T-shirts and such. bit.ly/BTE feedback. And we really appreciate you telling us how we can improve. We really appreciate the feedback. Now it's time for the emotional response to firefighting. We're going to build up our hero. We're going to be like the fighting fighter, and we're going to build the strongest firefighter that we can put into battle in the list of best things ever. What are our favorite things? Now that we know the history, what are our favorite things about firefighters? What do they mean to us?
Can I just say hubba hubba?
Yeah, hubba hubba. I mean? Very, very reasonable.
Hubba hubba.
Yeah, definitely you can say that. What else? Hunter?
Well, firefighting housed and clothed me.
So your dad and your brother were not volunteers. They were not doing it for the love of the game. They were doing it for the clothes.
They are hardcore. My brother in particular is, every day I talk to him, he tells me about some weird new thing that he takes all these like weird classes. Like it's like it's like half the time he's not even thinking about fire. At this point, I think like if there was a nuclear war, he would be like, I know what to do with nuke stuff. Like he's really weird. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be like moving toxic waste around or something like that, and that's like mostly what he thinks about and does. I don't think he even fights fire anymore.
When you were growing up, was your dad like? Was he one of those, like, because most firefighters are you spend 3 days in the firehouse and then you have 4 days off or whatever. Was that kind of what it was like for him?
It was 1 on, 48 off. So 24 on, 48 off. So 1 day of work, then 2 days off, then 1 day of work, and then 2 days off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And did he, was he one of those, because I've heard that in the firehouse where you're sitting there waiting for the calls, they learn how to cook real good. Was your dad a good firehouse cook? My dad is actually a great cook. Okay. The problem is that he has a small palate of things that he likes to cook, but he cooks those things real good. Yeah.
But if you like fried catfish, and if you like some deer meat, and that's end of list. He ain't cooking.
So on his
else.
1 day, periodically he was assigned to. It was like, it's catfish day, and then your dad would cook for everybody.
Here's something I've heard my dad say many times. He'll be like, hey, Hunter, I'm in town. Is it okay if I bring a bunch of fish over? That's something he says a lot.
I love that.
He's that kind of guy. He's like, I got a bunch of fish.
That's nice.
I got to keep this fish cold. right now. I'm going to fry it later.
Fish, or does he just want to use you for your refrigeration?
Well, it's like he lives in a different part of the state. So if I'm back where my family is, he's always like kind of there. But what I'm saying is this man in that morning is like, I'm going to drive across the state. And before he does that, he stocks up on cold, dead fish.
Right.
That he then needs to keep cold.
Got it.
Otherwise, it'll spoil.
As you mentioned, pancakes.
I love a pancake breakfast. I love eating pancakes where you should not get pancakes. And so it really does it for me. It was one of the saddest things, I think, during like all like pandemic stuff, which is we stopped having like the firefighter pancake breakfast that like I look forward to all year.
Oh,
Yeah, in my hometown. So like that was, I'm really hoping to be able to eat pancakes where I'm not supposed to again with firefighters in the near future, because I it just tastes better. I don't know what it is about like the fire department just makes the pancakes taste a lot better.
it's the fried catfish. That's what makes it taste
Might
good.
be that, yes.
Well, they've been frying catfish all day, and then they're like, well, I'll make some pancakes now, too, I guess.
You can really taste the catfish.
I like to wake up at 5 a.m. and I start frying fish, just whatever fish I can find around.
Just
Has your dad ever been noodling? Like when you catch a catfish with your bare hands?
Nah, he don't like doing it like that. No.
Down there?
That's like the stuff like that interesting ways of doing stuff like that. He's like, no, that's weird. He's like that kind of guy about it. He's like, nah, I'm going to noodle.
He's against weirdness.
Yeah, everything about him has to be the same way every time. So he just like, he reels them in, and he uses the same bait.
My grandfather and grandmother were from Holland, and Dutch people hate weirdness as well. They're very anti-weirdness in general. And there's like a classic Dutch saying that is, normal is weird enough.
Yeah.
That's just like, whatever you're about to do, you're like, look, man, just being alive is fucking weird. Stop
You've
there.
been around, this is strange that we got going on. So.
Yeah. I don't want anything weirder than what was already happening.
The Dalmatians are great. The Jaws of Life is such a cool fucking
Jaws
tool
of Life.
gadget.
Hell yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's good.
It's one of the top 10 metal, scary-looking gadgets ever made. And what I really love about firefighters is they'll show up for anything. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I once got lightly hit by a car, and like 2 fire engines showed up because they were like, I heard someone might be in trouble.
Yeah.
Are you on fire?
Yeah.
I can help you with that. They're awesome. They'll show up for anything.
They will.
Anything happens, firefighters show up.
This is, there is like, so in terms of like how this will continue to get better instead of making this a negative, I guess, is that the huge fire trucks, since only 4% of these are fires, like you said before, the huge fire trucks are very expensive, take up a lot of space, and are absolutely useless for most things that they actually get called for. So moving towards smaller, more efficient dispatched teams that just send out mostly paramedics and social workers in little fire trucks instead of big fire trucks, little fire Priuses basically, would be like a good direction for this to go to help save some money. But I don't know if the firemen will like this. So I like Bros Cooking. Also, you can drop off babies there. That's very nice of them. The San Francisco Fire Department uses wooden ladders, and they're like a very specific kind of wood treated in a very specific way, and it's like a really cool tradition of wooden ladders that there was a 99 PI episode about. I like the big trucks. I like when a big truck goes by. I like when they honk. I like seeing all the kids outside being excited about fire trucks. And then the other thing I love about firefighters is that they wake up real fast. I love the thing where you got your boots and your pants just waiting, and you can jump straight into your pants and boots. That's a cool trick.
Yeah, I think Hunter really hit the nail on the head with this basically socialist.
They're
one,
socialists.
Where, the idea of a sort of state-ran and financed organization that clearly just helps, that provides a service that you don't think about a lot, but you just know will be there when you need it. You don't ever have to worry. It's not like with like the cops. There's a lot of people like if you get robbed. You have to be scared of calling the cops because the cops might come and fucking shoot you in your own house. Right. Firefighters aren't going to come and light you on fire. No. Right? No. They're going to come and put out the fire. Yeah. It is amazing.
Yeah, and also like your presentation was basically about how for 2,000 years we tried to solve this with the open market, and it did not work, and the cities burned down, and then we were like, well, what if the government ran this? What if we had bureaucrats doing this? And then it was very good.
Yeah. I also feel like the fire department in general kind of points out like the lie with cops of just like, cops are like, oh, it's like we have to have guns because, it's so like dangerous out there. But the fire department, like firefighters deal with people in all types of crazy situations.
Oh, yeah.
Like my brother and father have all kinds of really like intense, wild stories of things that got like way out of hand. And nobody has a gun. So none of the stories end with, oh, yeah, and now they're dead. Like, it's just like, things were, like, really crazy, really hectic, sure, and maybe even terrifying. Like, somebody ends up going to a hospital or something. But it seems like a gun was never necessary for any of them. So.
EMTs don't wear full body armor and carry shotguns in the truck, right? Like there's like they go into just as dangerous places as anywhere cops go most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, isn't like a police officer is like the 25th most dangerous job, lawn care is 12. Like it's way down there on that's definitely true. It's like much less dangerous than doing lawn care.
Wow.
The wild thing also about firefighters, they have, I think, maybe the highest job satisfaction I've seen also, which is just like, imagine like if you have this great retirement, but also people really love what you're doing fundamentally. Like, no one is on team fire. Everyone's like, thank you. This is amazing.
Yeah. You have Dalmatians at work.
Yes. Right.
Pancakes. Yeah. Everything about it screams job set. One thing I've heard, tell me if this is true of your brother Hunter as an active firefighter still, they wish there were more fires. They wish that more of the calls were about fires and fewer were other things, because they got into this because they wanted to kick fire's ass, and it's like because of building codes, it doesn't even happen that much anymore.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about Joey, he's gonna find the fire. He's been talking to me lately about he's like I'm gonna go out to California. I'm gonna fight the wildfire stuff. Whenever
man, we didn't even talk about this. This was all urban firefighters, but man,
that's wild.
Wildlife firefighting is so
insane.
Crazy.
It's like they're going to war or something. It's like completely insane.
It's brutal and so helpful, so necessary.
Yeah, it's like super important.
Yeah.
Like if anything, like we need more and more of that, because it's getting rough out there.
Well, so this is an interesting place I think we're at now emotionally. Is that this is like, I feel like one of the most positive conversations we've had going into the ranking. The most positive everybody's feeling. The fewest mentions of things like asides that are negatives about it. So I think let's just find out what happens. Let's rank this on the master list. Hunter, will you please read for me the master list, the ranking of the 12 best things ever?
Heck yeah.
Forgot Waffle House is rotated around.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too. Waffle House is at the bottom,
It's
y'all.
at the bottom now.
And hot drinks is number one. We're still the number one hot drinks podcast. You got to have a hot drink. You want a hot drink? Got to have it. Okay, here's the list. Number one, hot drinks. Number two, My Neighbor Totoro. Number three, pro wrestling. Number four, romance novels. Number five, trees. Number six, the sun. Fresh bread, stand-up comedy, powerlifting. Oh, sorry, I'll start over. Hot drinks. No, just kidding. Powerlifting, cat videos, playing Halo with my boys, playing Halo with my sons, even, and then Waffle House at the bottom. And that is just
to reiterate a thing that I think is relevant about how hot drinks is number one on here is like I have a coffee with me every time we do this podcast. There's nothing else on the list that joins me for the podcast every week except hot drinks. I think it seems very justified.
Well, the sun's usually out.
Yeah,
but
and microphones.
We could record this at night for sure. We could do this podcast if there weren't trees. Okay, so what's your gut? Where do firefighters go? So I think I'm seeing two fingers from Ez. You think it's number two behind hot drinks?
I'd give it number one. This is like the Waffle. Well, and also now that number one is a danger zone, it's really just about protecting.
So true. I forgot about
We're just about protecting hot drinks.
Well,
really.
I mean, here's the great thing about firefighters, right? Is they run towards danger, not away from it.
That's so true.
So I think that they would like the danger of being in the number one spot, right?
Well, so one thing we talked about last week was that this list really does have a lot of warmth related. Like we want the drinks to be hot. We want the romance novels to be hot. We want the sun to be hot. We want fresh bread to be hot.
Sweaty list.
So firefighters are kind of anti-hot. They are hot, but they also cool things down aggressively.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if firefighters had the chance, they would put out the sun.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Do you think they would? Do you think there would? What if there was some sort of heist where the firefighters snuck into the sun? Kill
well,
it?
your brother knows nuclear stuff, and that's just fission. He's ready.
He knows all. He's so weird. He was the other day. He was like, "I'm trying to learn how to defuse a bomb," and I'm like, "Why? Firefighting is getting out of hand, Joey. I'm not really sure." Like,
that's pretty cool.
That is super cool. Is the thing. Man. Okay. So, Anthony, where are you leaning on this?
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty high up on Firefighters too. After doing all this research this week, I originally had like a long section in my presentation about 9/11 and sort of like the cultural zeitgeist and sort of impact that firefighting had, and the way we sort of as a society abandoned those people. And it sort of like got me thinking about like. I think, like, you know, Hunter, we talked about the retirement plan's really good for firefighters, but there is, like, the way that people love them so much, but we're also so quickly to abandon them.
Yeah.
Made me feel really sad and very bad.
Did you list that section about the firefighters in 9/11? Did you call it a fun fact?
No, I did not call that one a fun
Interesting.
fact.
Interesting.
Because that's in our time.
Yeah,
You don't understand
exactly.
the rules, Alex.
Look, Alex, it's like what did I think Charlie Chaplin said it best, right? Tragedy is a close-up, comedy is a long wide shot. You know, if it happened a long time ago, it's funny, right? If
Yeah,
it
is
happened
funny.
within
Except
our lifetime,
when
it's
Charlie
not as funny.
Chaplin said that, he said it quietly, and then a board hit him in the back of the head.
But I think that like
That was just a
not
silent movie joke. That was not about
abandoning
anything deeper than that. Okay, cool.
Okay, got it.
them and
I love
remembering
two.
them,
I think
giving
two-
them a deep space is a good spot for them.
Say that again.
I just think it's a good spot up high. I think they
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
respected and given a place.
We say up high. Everyone agrees on up high. Hunter thinks one. I would just point out yet again, I do not have a firefighter with me here
But
when I
if
do
you
the show.
could, would you?
Right, but that's
Yeah.
a weird...
But if you needed a firefighter, I mean, wouldn't you rather have one than a hot
mean,
drink?
If this is the metric, then we're just talking about stuff on our desks. We gotta
Yeah.
stop varying it up.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I
we
got a
just gotta
mess.
talk about
Can
stuff
mess
we
be
got
up
in
the
the
top?
room.
But I could do this at a different desk, and I would still go get a coffee first. It's not
Yeah.
just the desks. It's that I need a
But,
coffee to do this episode.
Do you
Right,
ever
but
drink
it's also the
iced
nature of the
coffee?
thing. Like, you can't have a firefighter every day, even if you want one. But like the nature of
you'll build up
a
tolerance.
beverage.
It's not good for
Your
you.
brother is your brother not married?
What? Oh, my brother is getting married.
Oh,
Or-
great. Well, so it seems like somebody
Congrats.
wanted to have a
Also tough.
firefighter around every day.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a little bit different. You get what I'm saying? You need drinks. You got to have them in your body. You
Right.
got to have it.
And except for Josh's partner, they're optional.
Yeah.
Firefighters. I think two.
They
I
are
love
optional.
two. I think two is a great place to put it.
It's hard to do it any lower than that because this is the only one that's actually a person. I'm pretty sure. Everything else has been kind of conceptual, so you can't.
Yeah.
really
That's so interesting.
mean
These are
this.
the first people we've put
Yeah,
on
these
the
are
list.
people.
Yeah,
This is a type
why,
of human.
This is why I didn't actually call out to any of my Facebook friends where it's like, "Hey, can you judge this group of people for me?"
Tell me
I
your
didn't feel
favorite
comfortable doing that.
firefighter.
Yeah, didn't want to do it.
That's so true. Man, I think for me, coffee is just above humans. But yeah, I think that seems right. Can we do two? Can we agree on two? Is everybody agreed
Yeah.
on two?
We can agree
I
on
can
two.
live
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that,
yeah.
Ez?
I think number 2 is good.
Yeah,
Number
Thumbs
two.
up.
I think-
without a bullet because they don't have guns.
Yep. No guns, and they get along
but axes,
just fine.
which is pretty cool.
Number one with an axe,
do have
as we
access.
always say.
Number one with an axe.
All right. Well, given that, Hunter, why don't you just read our top 5 for
Okay.
us? Best things ever.
The new top 5. Number 1, hot drinks like coffee or like hot water. Hot water might even be it.
Say
It,
hot
it could be
water.
hot water.
Hot water's
water-
the best thing ever. according to this
Number one
podcast.
thing is hot water with just a little slice of lemon on the side. That's what it is. Number 2 is firefighters, whole people. They live lives. They're born. They
They
laugh.
save lives.
They cry.
They save
they
lives.
love.
They
They
get
die,
possibly too
everything.
much retirement.
Yeah,
I just-
not as good as a hot water with a little bit of lemon, but
Yeah, I
pretty
just
good.
got Alex. One day you're gonna be in like a horrible car wreck, and instead of the jaws of life, they're just gonna slide you a cup of hot water
you
with
coffee.
coffee.
Seriously, if I
and be
was
like,
in a
there you
car
go.
accident and someone brought me a hot cocoa, that would definitely help. It wouldn't be jaws
At what
of life,
stage?
but it
at
would
what
help me a lot.
stage of the process?
Yeah.
Well, right, not if they threw it on my face, but if somebody was just like, "Do you need a treat right now?" I'd be like, "Oh, I could use a coffee treat."
Okay, so number 2 was firefighters. Number 3 was the film My Neighbor Totoro. Number 4 is the concept of pro wrestling, and number 5 is the genre romance novels.
Interesting. That's a good top 5. And again, heat still very important. And also, I like that firefighters are way above the sun because they could put the sun in its place if they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to write the science fiction novel where future firefighters like hijack the sun or heist it or destroy it.
It'd be like Armageddon, except they like, look, the sun got too hot. We have to train some firefighters to be astronauts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or,
To cool it down.
Is it easier to train firefighters to be astronauts or astronauts to be firefighters?
Yeah, that'll be the debate.
It's
Firenauts.
It's Bizarro Sunshine. The movie Sunshine,
Which we talked about
trying to
also,
make the tree hot again,
Yeah.
trying to make the sun hot again, trying to make the sun cold.
Ooh, I like
trying to cool it down.
I like
It's
this.
become
This is
a
good
red
concept.
giant, which is something that will really happen with it, I hear, someday.
Event in 5 billion years, I think, is what I said last week.
In 5 billion
Just
years.
5 years from now.
Long after the human race has destroyed itself.
I mean, I didn't mention this last week, but it could have
happened.
happened up to 7 minutes ago, and we wouldn't have known. Like, because it'll take 8 minutes for it to get here. So, sun could have blown up 6 minutes ago. We have no idea.
You'll know.
If you had included that, maybe it would not have been that person's least favorite episode. You know, you weren't giving them the good facts, Alex.
That's so
You were
true.
hoarding
All
the
right,
good facts.
Speaking of
You need
feedback,
those
let's do
fun
one.
facts.
Let's read a comment, talk about next week, and then get out of here. All right, I want to read a piece of feedback from the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AlexFalcone. Zigzag Claiborne says, in reference to last week's Sun episode, it's firmly established that anything seen on at least 3 iterations of Star Trek is science fact.
Yep.
So no mention of the time-traveling slingshot effect of the sun disturbs me. Hunter, I brought this up because I do feel like if you'd been available last week, if you hadn't been so busy preparing for your brother's wedding, you could have made sure we didn't skip that.
Yeah, I definitely could have. My favorite thing about that is the way that the Star Trek universe deals with that is that no one knows except for Kirk. And it's just like a trick he knows about. And so like he'll kind of like throw it out there and be like, oh, I think we're going to have to do the slingshot trick again. And then they do it. Like,
So what is the trick? You just go around the sun and it time travels you?
You just go around. You gotta do a 6 slide past the sun.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You
gotta power
Tokyo
drift.
drift.
You Tokyo
around
drift
the
past
sun.
Sure.
Yeah.
You drift
sun,
around
yeah.
the sun, and then you time travel back to wherever the plot needs you to, and it's always the modern day as of
Oh, right.
the
Is that
original
how
Star
they did
Trek
the time
series.
they had to save a whale?
Yes.
In Star Trek 4, they do the slingshot thing.
Nice.
Yeah, and Kirk brings it up. He's like, yeah, so we got to do that trick we know about. You know what I'm saying? And that's the attitude of it's so weird. It's like, wouldn't this be like science? Like, wouldn't everyone know about this or something? But no, it's just this weird trick Kirk knows.
Well, that's great. I wish you'd been here to tell us that, so this episode would have been even better. Now, if you had that and the joke I just mentioned about the sun blowing up 7 minutes ago, top 5 episodes for most people. That really would have
been.
shot the sun episode all the way up. It might even be higher than trees. All right, and then next week, we talked about it last week, and it was a lie. This week, we can tell you the truth. Next week's episode is going to be about advice columns. Our advice columns, the best thing ever. Our guests last week had several really excellent suggestions of possible topics, but we settled on advice columns over such things as man's quest for meaning. So, we're going to go with advice columns instead. Also, a hint as to the guest, you guys may remember, this is a person who we talked to on the old podcast about advice columns back in the day. So, how good are your memories of us?
Not good for me.
Yeah, not good for me, I guess.
Last time we had them on, we did an episode of the podcast where we did an episode of Read and Weep where we talked about the podcast Savage Love and this person's love of other advice columns. All right, so that's all coming up next week. All right, let's get going. That is the show. Our theme music is by @Metrix. Our logo design is by Tom Typography. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter @BTEPod, on YouTube @AlexFalcone, and you can leave us an honest 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we really appreciate everybody who reviews the show. It's really helpful for us. If you have any feedback for us, you can take the Best Thing Ever podcast listener feedback survey by going to bit.ly/BTEfeedback. You can also just send us mail @bestthingeverpodcast.com. If you want a simpler way to tell me that you didn't like the episode about the sun, just hit us there. Our producers of the show is produced by Ranger Patrick, John, the consigliere, the Duke of Jill, the best assistant regional manager, Sean, and Claire, TBD. If you want to become a producer of the show and keep the show moving along, keep us able to produce it, keep us in the time to have these fine PowerPoint presentations that you see before you, all the research that goes into this, all of our research assistants that are currently volunteer firefighters but could be paid researchers instead, you can join the Patreon, patreon.com/BTEpod, and we really appreciate everyone who does that. And if you are at a high enough level, we'll mention you on every single episode of the show. So I'm Alex Falcone. I'm on TikTok at Alex_Falcone. And the liar today, the lie in our opening was me. I am not allergic to peaches, which may come as news to some people because I did say it in a viral TikTok a while back, and everyone was like, not everyone, but some people were like, oh my God, I'm allergic to peaches. I've never met anyone who's allergic to peaches. And that was stolen valor.
You dork.
I know. Man. It was just a good joke, so I had to say it, but it was not true. Also, apparently people are not really allergic to peaches. You can be allergic to pollen that ends up on peaches. So canned peaches that I use in the video, you wouldn't be allergic to anyway because they're pollen free. Huh. Fun fact. Anyway, but Ezra, you did shoot a gun in Vietnam and get negged for it. Yes, you shot a woman's gun in Vietnam.
A woman's gun.
It was not the most progressive gun range. I guess I'll just say that, maybe.
But neither was Hunter's child-proof gun range, free-range child.
It wasn't at a range. We were just outside, dude. They don't have gun ranges down there.
God's range.
We were in God's range.
And Anthony, you said you were in an Iron Reagan music video. What did you do in that music video?
I'm in a sketch at the beginning. It's called Miserable Failure. You can check it out. And I just want to say, Alex, my facts were all way more fun than the fact you just said. So... something to think about.
That was a boring fact, but I will say it was not a depressing fact. It wasn't a heartbreaking fact. I see.
Someone's crying about this.
I have a weird sense of fun, but yours is you were maybe using it in a darker way than me.
I think Anthony gets it.
Yeah, I get it, and I'm about 10 minutes away from playing Tears of the Kingdom again, available now for the Nintendo Switch.
Check out The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, available now on Nintendo Switch.
You can also check out Ezra's newsletter, deletethis.substack.com. Thanks for being here, Ezra.
Of course.
You can find Anthony currently torturing Koroks on Tears of the Kingdom. Thanks for being here, Anthony.
Yep.
Sorry, your wife's going to get the Switch taken away from her. And then Hunter, you can also find talking about video games, if you like, on Old Gamers Almanac, your podcast about old video games.
Yeah.
How many other Zeldas have you covered?
We've only covered Ocarina of Time, and we decided to be mean to it just for fun.
Interesting.
Just to try it out.
That was the only Zelda that I would have had fun talking about, I think, before this one. I played a lot of Ocarina of Time.
I gotta say, it's been a long time since we did that episode, and I feel kind of bad about it. I just think we were negative for just no reason. But it's funny. I'll say that it's funny.
All right, you can check out Old Gamers Almanac now. Everybody, go back to your games and play them. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.